and thank you for joining me on this video chat series where I chat with people who have created a life that they love. The point of this series is to show you that anything is possible, and I want to do that by talking to other people who have done it and to show you what they've overcome and hopefully impart a little bit of their advice to you on your journey, because I truly believe that anything is possible if you actually put your mind to it and clear the blocks, usually put there by yourself, that are in your way. So I hope that this series inspires you to do something that you've been wanting to do, or to change something, or to get rid of something that doesn't serve you anymore. And maybe it'll help you to create a life that you love. If you're interested in joining the next series of Manifest Me, just jump on my website, have a look, see when the next intake is, as I would love to see you there. Manifestation has been a huge part of my journey, and hopefully it can be a huge part of yours too. Okay, so welcome back to our chats with women who are creating a life that they love. Today I'm chatting with Mirella, and just before we start, excuse my voice. I lost my voice earlier this week, so I'm just getting it back. So excuse me, Mirella, if I'm a bit croaky today. Makes the chat a bit more interesting, I guess. But today we are chatting with Mirella, who is in Perth. So it's a bit far away from me. I'm on the other side of Australia. But when I was first introduced to Mirella, I was introduced through a friend, and my friend said, "Oh, look, she is just creating a life you love. You have to talk to her. You have to talk to her." So I was like, okay, cool. So we had a bit of a chat, and I was just amazed at how much she is living her life in alignment and creating it, even though it's probably against what other people are doing in their lives, sort of, going and doing the 9 to 5. So I want to welcome Mirella and say thank you for having a chat to us, and for giving us a bit of your time today. So do you want to start and just introduce yourself and tell us a little about who you are and why you love your life so much?
Yes, absolutely. Well, firstly, thank you so much, Hayley, for having me on. It is such an honor, and it's been amazing to connect with you as well. I love what you are doing.
Thank you.
So I'm Mirella. I'm 28 years old, and as Hayley mentioned, I live in Perth in Western Australia. But I was actually born in Zimbabwe. So I grew up there and I moved to WA when I was about 11. And I've pretty much called WA home ever since. Work-wise, my background has always been in beauty and skin therapy. And that's definitely changed now, as I'm sure we will unpack and go a little bit more into as we chat. But I'm a dog mama, so I have 2 little dashhounds who are basically like my children. They're always super close. They're literally right next to me here. And I'm definitely the kind of person who likes to question everything and get super curious. So I love the life that I'm living right now because I've been able to push through a lot of different questions and uncover lots of different things about myself that have allowed me to just truly live within alignment with who I am and what brings me the most joy and what lights me up.
Nice. Yeah, I find that, excuse me, I always think it's brave when people live in alignment, because you have to question yourself and you have to live your truth. And sometimes that's uncomfortable. And that's sometimes why people stay doing what they're doing, or they're too scared to make a change because they think, what will people think? Or maybe that won't work, or I'm a little bit scared. So I think it's great when people break out and go, I'm just going to give it a try. And, if it makes me happier, then what have I got to lose? So I think that's great. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you're doing now?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to. I love that you touched on limiting beliefs there, because it's definitely something that I've had to overcome as well.
Okay.
Worrying about what other people think and the stories that our minds create in our head. So yeah, what I'm doing right now is I'm actually doing a couple of different things. So I work as a brand partner with a company called Young Living, and we focus a lot around essential oils, but also natural living and removing chemicals, like those nasty chemicals, out of people's homes, and just going back to really clean, basic living. And I'm really passionate about that. It's definitely how I live my life from a day-to-day basis. And so all I love doing with that is just educating other people and showing other people how easy it is to make those switches, and how much more beneficial it is for our overall health and our families and our pets as well. And so the other things that I'm doing are, given my my background in skin therapy, I work alongside a skincare company. So I'm just their state educator. I go around and just manage all of their stockists in WA, and I provide a lot of training around skincare and skin and all that sort of thing, which I'm really passionate about too.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I've just started studying marketing, which is really exciting. I love giving myself a big challenge. I have been doing throughout this past year, doing a little bit of freelance marketing work with some companies, some smaller businesses, and it's been exciting. It's something that I've not really done before. I've done bits of it in previous jobs before with managing social media accounts, but now I get to dive into it on a deeper level.
Yeah.
And doing all of these different things ultimately gives me the freedom to, one, pretty much work from wherever I want to work from,
Yeah.
and two, set my own hours and have a slow morning and start work at 11 o'clock if I want to. It allows me to be my own boss, and that ultimately, gives me a really nice sense of freedom. And so that's what I'm working on at the moment.
Is that why you started doing what you're doing? Because you wanted more autonomy, more freedom, more, I guess, happiness or whatever in your life?
Totally. That's exactly why I started doing what I'm doing, and I stepped out of doing that general 9 to 5 work.
Yeah.
I remember actually a very pivotal moment for me. It's something that is edged in my brain, and it was early last year. So early, we're in 2022 now. So early 2021, it was actually my partner passed away in January of 2021, and I was 26 at the time, and he was 29 when he passed away. So we were both very young, and it's very challenging, as I'm sure you'd understand, a very challenging time in my life, but also a very isolating period. Being so young and losing someone, your partner, it's something that doesn't happen very often to young people. And so I found myself really struggling to get back into everyday life, to go back to being a part of the world and working again. And at the time I was in my admin position, and I remember my pivotal moment was sitting at the desk, just staring blankly at my screen and just going, this can't be it. There has to be more to life. There has to be more than this. I can't just come and sit in an office every day. I'm miserable. And I remember walking outside, sitting in the sunshine, taking a moment and breathing and going, okay, something has to change. And I'm the only person who can change it. And that pivotal moment was like, I want to be able to go when I'm, having a rough morning and battling with my grief. I want to be able to go and sit at the beach for an hour and ground myself and breathe and then start work. I don't want to be tied to going and working for somebody else. So ultimately, that's where it started, and it's evolved into the lifestyle that I want to live. Now that I've experienced that freedom, I want to do it all the time. I want to be able to just it brings me so much joy to just live as I please.
Yeah. And from what I can see on your socials, you're definitely living that. You're not just talking about it. You're doing it. I see when you go to the beach, and I see when you're doing other things and you're living more of a clean, non-toxic or low toxic life, and I think that that's really important, because when we're saying one thing and living another way, it's not congruent. So of course you're not going to manifest or live the way that you want, because, you're not in alignment with what it is that you truly want. So I think it's really good that you're doing that. I think it's really nice. I also think that it's really, what's the right word? That interesting, I guess, is maybe not the right word, but when you said you sat down outside and you said something has to change, and it's only going to be, nothing else can change except me. I'm the only one that can control it. So many people don't do that. They sort of go, I hate my job, I don't like my boss, or I'm not happy with my partner or whatever. And it's only when we take that self-responsibility that we can make a change, because everyone can make other changes to make you happy. But until you do it yourself and you set that intention that you're going to change, nothing will change, because you'll always find something else to be unhappy about. So I think it's really, really brave, I guess, especially at such a young age, that you were able to recognize that and go, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to see how it goes and take some responsibility and change. So I think that's really cool.
Oh, thank you. And absolutely, I agree. Like, I really think I've always believed that I was made for more than just working in an office. And I'm still figuring out my entire life purpose. I think it's a journey that we all kind of just work and evolve and figure out as we go.
Yes.
But the biggest thing for me was you have to take action. If you
Yeah.
want to be where you're dreaming of being, you can get there. Like you can make anything possible.
Yeah.
You just have to work for it. You've got to take the action and the steps towards it. And so, yeah, it was just, I think I had to be in that moment at that time, have
Yeah.
that realization and go, now's the time, let's do it.
Yeah. And did you find it difficult to come to that? Or were you in such a place where you're like, I'm just not happy doing what I'm doing, that I'm just so ready to make the change? I guess what I'm asking is, do you have any advice for other people who might be sitting there going, I want more, but I'm too scared to do that? I don't think, maybe people will think I'm crazy for leaving this great job, or, if they want to go overseas or do something totally different. Have you got any advice based off what you've gone through to tell other people?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think inevitably I was always going to end up on this path. I think going through my journey of experiencing such depths of grief accelerated me to the point where I am now, because it gave me that perspective of, like, I know it's very cliche that life's so short, but when you're faced with something like that, it is like a smack in the face. Like, it actually is so short, and you just have to make the most of every single piece of time that we have here. So I think that accelerated it for me. I think the advice that I would give to somebody who's thinking about it is, I would probably give two pieces of advice. The first piece would be start. Just start somewhere. Stop thinking about it. If you have an idea in your mind, it's come in there for a reason. Yeah. So start by whatever your thing is. If it's video recording or brainstorming, get it out of your head, get it in front of you so you can see what it is, and find a starting point and just go from there. Yeah. We often, I think, get too stuck in our head about what it could be and what it couldn't be, and we might fail, and so many opportunities can be missed from doing that. So just start. And my second piece of advice would be, find a mentor. So it might be a family member or a friend. It might be somebody who's within your industry, or you can even invest in a coach, but find somebody who can support you along your journey, who can keep you accountable, who can give you advice, you can bounce off of. I think it's really, really important. Like, we as humans, we're not made to do life alone. And in business, we can't do it alone. We have to collaborate, and we have to lean on other people and get that support. So I think it's really important to have a mentor that you really trust, and that, is reliable, that you can lean on to support you through all of it.
Yeah. And I think that's important, the taking action, because I see a lot of people who are like, oh, I'd really love to do this. And I'm like, well, great. What are you doing about it? Oh, no, I've just been thinking about it. All it takes is one piece of action, doing something. It doesn't have to be the right thing, because I think people often are waiting for the right step. They're going, oh, when it's right, when I feel good, I'll take the action. Just take it, do it messy, just do it. Yeah. And you'll find out whether it's right or not. And it'll lead you on the next path, and I think also people will help you when they know what you're wanting to do. They'll be like, oh, I've done that, I can help you, or I've got some advice, or whatever it is. But if you don't take action and tell people, no one can ever help you out. It can never manifest into your life if you don't actually tell people or take action on it.
Yes, exactly. You have to start somewhere. And like, there's no perfect time to start. Like, people say there's no perfect time to have a baby, or to get a pet, or to buy a house, or to go on a trip. There's no perfect time to start a business. You just have to start somewhere. And exactly like you said, like, people who you surround yourself with as well, you can lean into that, and you can lean into them for support and advice as well. And also just get yourself out there. Like, when you start, people will start going, oh, what's she doing, or what's he doing? Like, and they'll get intrigued, and you can chat with them, and then it flows from there. Like, it really does manifest into exactly what you create in your mind.
Yeah. And for me, that's what I see with you when I look at you, and I think you're living in the alignment of what you want. You want to create this life where you have this time freedom, and you can go to the beach and all of these things. And you've chosen a career where you can do that, and you're furthering your education so that you can keep doing that. And I just think that that's great. So, yeah.
Thank you. It's so exciting. It can be slightly challenging, stepping outside of what I say, quote unquote, the norm. You know, those limiting beliefs at the beginning of like, what are people going to think? Are people going to laugh at me? Are they going to, people, you know, might not take me seriously. And there's definitely been small moments of that, but it hasn't stopped me from what I want, because ultimately I bring it all back to why I'm doing this for myself. It's like my ultimate why of what I want to create. And at the end of the day, it doesn't affect, you know, what other people have to say or what other people think. It really only affects my own life. So I've learned, and I'm still learning as well, to just block all of that out and just focus on what's in front of me and what I'm doing and what I'm creating.
Yeah. I have this great saying that I like to remind myself, other people's reactions are none of my business. So however they react to me is none of my business. It doesn't affect me, and it shouldn't affect me, you know? So
Exactly. Yeah. Couldn't agree more with that.
Yeah. But it is hard though, that especially at the start, I think, especially when you tell someone, hey, I'm going to start a video chat series and interview people, they're like, oh, and you know, I think that's when it's important to have those people around you, that mentor or that tribe, who are going to go, yes, I'm going to support you and I'm going to be there, so that you can hold on to that positive energy until you get some momentum. And when that starts to build, you've got trust and belief in yourself to go forward, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And again, it is all just an ongoing journey, right? There's still humps and obstacles that come along the way. But as long as, like you said, you've got your tribe behind you who love you and support you, and they're your cheerleaders in your corner, no matter what. And you've got that belief in yourself and you're focusing on why you want to create it, then there's honestly nothing in the world that can stop you.
Exactly. Do you wish you'd done it sooner? Do you have any advice for your 18-year-old self? I mean, you're still quite young now, but, you know, do you have any advice for your 18-year-old self?
I actually do. And it's probably advice that I would sometimes still give myself today.
Yeah.
And the biggest piece would be get out of your head. Like we often live so much in our head and we're like, what if this, what if that? And one of my very good friends, who's also one of my mentors, will say the same thing to me quite often: get out of your head. Because like I mentioned before, like I find that often our mind creates stories around what we're capable of, and it limits us actually taking action and doing, like the doing part. So I would tell 18-year-old me to get out of her head and focus what's in front of her, because there's so much beauty and opportunity sitting right in front of you at your fingertips. And sometimes I would say that to me still today. Sometimes I have to remind myself.
It is a good little reminder for every day, though, I think, because like you say, no matter what happens, you're going along having success, and then you hit a road bump, and then all of those mind games start to happen again, you know? So it's a constant ongoing, not battle, but it's an ongoing journey, I guess.
It's a journey, and you just have to keep pushing forward and keep moving with it, keep flowing. I think it's life though, right? It's like relationships and jobs and just, you know, everything. We get ebbs and flows, and there's always going to be obstacles that come up. It's inevitable. We can't avoid them. It's just how you, I think, take opportunities of growth from each obstacle that comes along. Pick up a little piece and grow and learn from that. That part of your journey, and take it in with you to your next chapter. Add it. My friend always says, add that lesson to your tool belt, like, or your toolkit. Like, just keep adding bits and you grow. It's amazing.
I always think it's the universe's way of forcing you to level up. All right, you're good now. Don't get comfortable. Let's go more. Let's push more, you know? Yeah. So what would you say?
I think when you're open
go.
Yeah, sorry. I was just going to say, I think when you're open to that as well, when you do get comfortable and the universe throws something at you, like if you're open to it, there, like, opportunities are limitless, because like, I think I'm being a little bit repetitive, but like, you just pick it up and you run with it. And then, you know, you take that lesson and you just keep moving forward. And you're ready for the next obstacle that the universe is going to throw at you, because they're going to keep coming. But I think it's how you keep moving forward with it.
Yeah. So what do you think lights you up the most about the life that you've got now? What sort of gets you out of bed every morning?
I
apart from
think
2 puppies.
they definitely get me out of bed very early. Um, I think the thing that lights me up the most is having the freedom to be in nature as much as I possibly can. I find that so before when I was working a 9 to 5 job, I was sitting in an office. I was surrounded by cubicles and computers and technology, and it's so overstimulating for us as humans. Like, we're definitely meant to be grounded to the earth daily. And I was finding I would go a week without even putting my feet on
Wow.
grass.
Yeah.
Like, this is not how we're supposed to live. Like, this is not okay. And I found myself going like kind of living more up in my head rather than in my body and being really present.
Yeah.
And so part of that being my reason of the life I've wanted to create is being able to wake up with the sunlight, with the sun rising. And my days really vary, so I don't always get to go to the beach in the morning for a swim, but I always make sure that there's a way that I ground myself, whether it's sitting in the sunshine and just absorbing it for 15, 20 minutes, or sometimes I've got the time to go and have like a little hike in the forest, or even just finding time to put my bare feet on grass. Having the freedom and the ability now to incorporate that into my day and into my weeks definitely is what makes me want to jump out of bed, because I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can do this. Like, I don't have to go to an office. I don't have to sit in traffic for half an hour, getting to work. This is incredible. So yeah, I love it. Nature is my paradise. I love it.
Nice. I think it's also important that people, when you are too caught in your heads, or when you are too overwhelmed with what's going on, coming back to our body, that's why people love to exercise, or they love to be outside in nature, because it disconnects you from your head a little bit, and you get out of your head and you get to just move your body, and your body already knows what it wants or what it needs, if you need to go for a walk, or if you need to go for a swim, or if you need to move, if you're angry or whatever. But I think we forget that because we've been so, I guess, conditioned to be inside or to be a certain way, but remembering that our bodies need that movement, and that will help us to disconnect with whatever's going on in our brain, is also a great thing.
Yeah, totally. And I love that you used the word conditioned, because we are definitely living in a society where predominantly we are conditioned to live very much a certain way. And so that definitely ties back into, the scary feeling of stepping outside of the norm of the 9 to 5, kind of work. That
One second, sorry.
Let's just let it.
Okay, sorry about that, everybody. My daughter just knocked at the door for a very important request of food, so I'm very sorry, Mirella, about that. But we were just chatting before we came back. I know that I interrupted you, and I'm sorry, but I just said this is why I do what I do, so that I can be home with her now. She's my why, she's my reason. And I love that. I don't love this moment, but I love that I'm around to be here for her. So thank you for that. Apologies.
No, please don't apologize. And we were just saying as well, like, it's so important that you get to be present at home with your babies. And it's also another reason as to why I'm building what I'm building, so that when I have babies one day, I don't have to go back to work. I don't have to end my maternity leave. I can be home. I can be present with my children, and I get to be a part of raising them. Like, I'm lucky enough that my mum was able to be mostly a stay-at-home mum, and so she did a lot of raising us, and so that's really important for me to want to do that too. So I totally get it, and I love that we have the flexibility and the freedom to have these little interruptions when the little babes come in.
Yes. I think that's something that I guess we don't really touch on much, is the future planning. People are often going, what's good for me now? But I love that you're looking to your future and going, okay, if I can do this now, it's setting me up for my future, so that I don't have to worry so much, because a lot of people don't. And it's only as they get older that they're like, oh, wow, now I really need to think about what's going to happen.
Yeah. I want to do all of
why you started as well.
Massively. Yeah. Like I was saying, like in Africa, the way that we lived is very different to here. But we were able to, like, my mum ran a preschool from home, so I was a part of the preschool
Oh,
through all
wow.
of my younger years. And
Yeah.
so, but that allowed mum to be super present with us as kids.
Yeah.
And I've always, when I look back on my childhood, it's always been one of the biggest things that I've valued is
Yeah.
having my mum around, especially when I see a lot of my friends now, and a lot of other mums have to take their kids to daycare or have to take their kids, you know, and leave their kids with a babysitter because they have to go and they have to be at work because they can't
Yeah.
afford not to be.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very maternal. I've always wanted to be a mum. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, a big part of it, of what I'm
Yeah.
creating, is doing all of my hustle now so
Yeah.
that when I have my babies, I can just sit back. My business can be doing its thing in the background,
Yeah.
and I'll still be making money and still be doing all of that, but I'll actually be able to be so much more present with my children and be hopefully half the mum that my mum was to us.
Awesome. I'm sure you will be. I'm sure all the kids want is for you. They just want you. They want your presence and your time. That's all they want. So
Yeah. And not having your face stuck in your phone. That's really important
yes,
as well. So
very much.
doing all of it now.
Yeah. So do you have, I think one question that I ask everybody is 3 words to describe you.
Yeah. So it's always hard describing yourself to somebody else. It's so much easier to ask someone else what they think of you.
Yeah.
So I had to stick with this one for a little bit to really feel into it. I would say 3 words to describe me right now would be intuitive.
Okay.
I'm very much learning still to listen to my intuition and follow with that. Every time I have, it's always led me down a pretty incredible path.
Yeah.
And every time I haven't, I've always regretted it.
Yeah.
So being very intuitive,
Yeah.
empathetic.
Okay.
I am a massive, massive empath. I feel everyone else's stuff as well. But it also makes me a very loving person to everyone around me.
Yeah.
And free.
Yeah.
I'm now living in a space where I just feel really free,
Nice.
which is amazing.
Great. That's awesome. Do you have a lot of boundaries then if you're an empath?
I've had to learn that. Yeah. And I definitely have learned it the hard way as well.
Yeah.
I've gone through the whole emotional burnout of carrying other people's stuff, but I've definitely learned and still learning. I think we're always learning. Yeah. Putting boundaries in place and knowing when I can show up for somebody and when my cup's actually too empty and I can't pour love into other people. But I have found that I've been able to be a lot more flexible, not with my boundaries, but with my time now that I actually schedule time for myself every single day around work to pour love into me so I can show up the best way to those around me. Yeah.
Nice. I like that. Yeah. I think it's something that we don't often prioritize is ourselves. We know we're like, especially as a mum, you're like, okay, I've got to get this done. I've got to do this. My daughter needs this. And it's important to prioritize that because otherwise you do fall into a heap and you just think, I can't do anything. I don't have the energy or the motivation or whatever for anything. And that's when things do fall apart, I think.
It's also something that I want to change because I look at my mum and my mum says to me, you know, like, you'll understand one day why you put yourself last because you put your family and your children first. And I've actually been reading about a couple of mums who are currently newer mums in the last few years. And a lot of them are saying it doesn't have to be that way. Like you can take 20 minutes a day to pour love into you and then you can put, you know, all of your love into everyone else. It's all about communicating and, you know, getting up maybe half an hour before the kids get up to pour that bit of love into yourself. But I want to change that. Like, I don't want to be the type of person that completely drains everything out of me just because I have to give to everyone else. I think it's important just to find that balance. And I'm by all means, I am not a mum to humans yet. So I cannot attest to how challenging finding that balance can be, but I am determined. I'm aware of it and I'm determined to work towards finding a really nice balance one day. And just being aware.
Yeah. And I think it's different for every person because some people might need an hour or two a day to themselves, and some people only need, 15 minutes of peace and quiet, and then they're perfectly happy. So, when people talk about a balance, I often have to remember that it's not necessarily a 50-50. It could be all I need is this much, but some people might need this much, so yeah, it's about knowing and being aware of what you need.
Yeah, totally. It looks different for everyone.
Yeah, well, you're already ahead of the game by being aware of it, so that's good.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I guess my final question to you would be, do you have any questions that you wish I'd asked you today?
I would probably say I wish that you'd asked me who inspires me most.
Okay. Well, who inspires you the most?
Okay, so I have got a very, very, very special friend of mine who has been a friend for probably close to 10 years. We met and started working together in the beauty industry back in very different chapters and phases of our lives. And we've spent a lot of time together. We've lived together, we've holidayed and explored together. But when it comes to life stuff, when it comes to the more emotional stuff, and when it comes to business, she's the one person who has always given me probably the most sound advice and the most sound just constant support. She's probably one of the most grounded people that I know, even if she wouldn't think that of herself, but I think she's very grounded, and she's taught me so much. She's probably been my biggest teacher in life so far.
Okay.
And she's also my biggest cheerleader as well. So I'll come to her with any idea and she'll be like, yes, go. Obviously not if it's going to be terrible, but she's such an incredible cheerleader. She's always supporting me. She's always encouraging me. So she is my biggest inspiration. She is in business as well. So it's been incredible for us to encourage each other through our own business journeys. And what's been amazing is that we haven't lived in the same place for a couple of years now, but even though we live in different parts of the country, we have still found ourselves actually growing very much together, even though we're very much apart. And she's the type of person that we don't have to speak every single day. But when we do, it's normal. It's just like you just pick things up. So she is my absolute biggest inspiration and probably one of the most cherished people in my life.
Oh, awesome. I think being in business by yourself can be lonely as well. So it's great that you have someone that you can bounce those ideas off and that you can talk to, and it's not weird if you don't talk for a couple of days. So that's really nice.
It's awesome that we get to do it with each other as well, for each other's businesses.
It's not one way.
It's not like one of us is still stuck in a life that we don't enjoy. We're both doing it and we're both building it alongside each other, which is really, really cool.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think that's all the questions I have for you. So thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. I'll let you go. You'll be able to go back to the beach now or do something exciting. Play with your puppies.
Oh, thank you so much, Hayley. Thank you so much for having me on here. It's been so cool to unpack my why again and to be able to remind myself all of it as well. And what you've created as well is incredible. I'm so excited to see how you flourish in what you're doing.
Thanks. Well, look, I love doing this. It's so fun. It's, getting to chat to people who inspire me. I'm like, wow, cool. This is a job. Okay. It's great. So thank you very much. All right. Well, that wraps up today's one. And I will be back again soon, chatting to another woman who has created a life that they love. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.